I'm going to call this meeting to order. At 6:47, I will do a roll call to establish a quorum. Ms. Williams, Mr. Salinas present. Thank you for being here. Mr. Macias and Ms. Eder. Okay, we have established a quorum. By law, I have to read this page. I'm sorry. Oh, Mr. Flores. Thank you. We just started, sir. This special meeting of the Judson Board of Trustees hereby called to order at 6:47. I am very pleased that you have taken time to join us this evening. As the Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals and policies and oversee the management of the district. We are responsible for approving budgets, which we're working on, contracts, personnel appointments, and to listen to reports from the superintendent. We are not here to make administrative or management decisions pertaining to the daily operation of the district. This is the responsibility of the superintendent. In compliance with state government code and open meetings, tonight's agenda has been appropriately posted. This is a meeting in public, not a meeting of the public. As our guests, you are welcome to observe and listen. These proceedings are being video and audio recorded and will become part of Judson's permanent legal record. In order that the tape adequately reflects these proceedings, please silence your mobile phones and refrain from talking while others are speaking. Since it is legally mandated that these proceedings are recorded accurately, I may have to ask for order periodically should I notice that disruptions are interfering with our recording capabilities. Again, we extend to each of you a sincere welcome. Thank you for your interest in the Judson ISD. Okay, you received a packet, the board packet work session. This is a continuation of fiscal year 2014-2015 budget discussion. Dr. Mackey.
Mr. President, Board, Mr. Elizondo, would you please kind of just give us a quick review site of this?
Yes, sir. We're continuing to discuss the budget that was presented to the board, the information that was presented to the board on June the
Is your mic on, sir?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
On June the 6th. And that particular document indicated that we were going to receive approximately $173.8 million in total revenue for the general operating fund, and we're proposing expenditures of $175.6 million, which would result in a expenditures over the revenues of $1.8 million for the general operating fund. Okay, that same document that y'all have been reviewing and discussing for quite a while now, several meetings. For the child nutrition fund, we indicated that we were looking at about $12.4 million in total revenue and expenditures of approximately $12.6 million. And we were expecting where expenditures were over revenues by $181,000. And for the interest and sinking fund, which is the third fund that that the board is required to adopt, we showed that revenues were going to be approximately $29.7 million, and expenditures are going to be about $30.6 million, which were going to go into fund balance for the INS fund about $872,000. So those are the summaries of the information that we've been discussing. The board has several other items on the agenda as well to discuss. So I'm not sure exactly how you want to proceed, if you want to discuss the other items first or how you'd like to do it. No, that particular information I was talking about was provided at a board meeting, I think two special meetings ago, right? And so that's what we're discussing. And I believe, I'm going to put it on the spot here, and I'm sorry, Ms. Bettis, did you send that stuff to the board, did you forward that information to the board on the summaries that, yes. All right, so, okay, so it should be, is it in their box, or where is it? Okay, sure. But it's the same information that we've had since the June 6th meeting. It's just we keep bringing it forward. No, not as of this date. No, not as of, no, ma'am.
Okay, discussion? Oh, okay, ma'am.
And we're talking general budget right now, Mr. Salinas?
Yes,
or
sir.
we're, um,
The email, that we, Mr. Elizondo, Dr. Mackey.
Yes, the board requested that we have some subcategories. It was really mostly for the election costs, and so we broke that down to $90,000. We pulled that out of there. And then we also had a request for the internal audit to be broken out of the effective practices, and that's also there as well, indicating $75,000.
I guess I'll go ahead and ask.
Yes.
So I don't remember what I said, if I said it just to Dr. Mackey and you, if I said it to the board. I was asking if we had any way of giving an additional $25 for insurance to our employees and requiring our employees to pay $25 and allowing them to be to exempt themselves, taking away the mandatory clause in our health insurance. Can I get any report on that?
Mandatory is what?
Mandatory is we have fully covered health insurance for our employees, and as such, this year they were not, they didn't go to the exchange. So I want us to do whatever we need to do for our employees to be able to go to the exchange since our deductibles were so high. So, how about Ms. Howard talk to me?
Go ahead.
Adding an additional, what you're talking about, Mr. Elizondo and I got together, it's gonna run about $900,000. I'm looking for it.
What about the rest of what we could do? If we don't give them $25,
Well, some of the other options would be then to ask the employees to contribute. We're one of the last districts in the area that is still paying 100% of the employees for the employee premium. By allowing the employee to contribute, we are then freed up from, Ms. Adair was alluding to that in the ACA there is a requirement that if the district is allowing or is compensating 100% of the employee premium, the employee may not go to the exchange themselves. Their dependents can, but they may not for themselves. By putting in that added feature that the employee has to pay a portion of the benefit premium, that then allows them to legally then go pursue the exchange if they believe that that is a better option for them. And so they would, not only their dependents could go, they could also go as well.
Does it say how much?
No.
Like we say, we'll pay, $5.
There's not a minimum. It just has to have an employee contribution.
It's not an amount. I was thinking, we don't want to look crazy, so I was thinking like $20, $25. But I did check, and the other districts are paying, and I know we don't have it, but they're paying like $315 to $375, and their employees still have to contribute. So we're at
75, 275.
75. So that was why I said, $25, and they contribute $25, Yes.
we're paying 100%.
Yes, sir.
What we're trying to do is get it so that they would be eligible to go to the exchange.
Absolutely,
So, is it 275 100%?
yes.
Okay, let's pay 270.
No, that's not the problem. We paid $275, and the employee deductible this year was $5,000. I mean, and I'm talking, I'm sorry, I'm more familiar with hair and women, so they couldn't get mammograms, they couldn't get pap smears, they couldn't get, what's some stuff y'all get? Yeah, they couldn't get anything without the $5,000. I'm talking about routine preventive care.
Actually, Ms. Adair, just as a clarification, the wellness, routine physical care, that is covered at 100% under ACA.
Which part of the wellness?
So the annual procedures specifically for women, for men
That's not
over
what they
40.
said.
It is.
Because when I had talked to the insurance people before we voted on that plan, they told me that was going to be covered, and their prescriptions was $600. So this year, I've heard that employees have not been buying their blood pressure medicine. They haven't been buying their diabetic stuff because their deductible was $600, and they could have. The lower income could have gotten a better deal on the exchange. And we don't want to prohibit people from going and, I mean, I know we're giving them the most we can, and I don't know what legally we have to say to require them to pay something so they're eligible. I did put in a call to Ms. Kyle, but she didn't call me back.
But Mr. Flores said, well, let's make it 270, and then that would qualify him. Hold on, man. Hold-
Let me clarify a little bit. If we, because of our experience for the insurance product or health insurance, even at the 275 level, it's going to be very difficult to even maintain the benefits that the employees had this year. In other words, the benefits are going to be offered for the next school year. If we maintain 275, they're going to have less benefits for next school year because the insurance companies can't continue to offer more. So, by actually asking the employees to contribute $20 or $25, then it's going to give us the opportunity to go up to the insurance companies and say, okay, now we have $300 that we can use towards insurance. Kind of do the numbers based on that and see what kind of premium, what kind of program, what kind of benefits you can offer our employees based on $300 instead of $275 per month. Of course, the employees, like I said, that'll give them the option of saying, no, we're not interested. We're going to go to the marketplace to see if we can buy something out there. And if they go and shop and they decide, no, we can't get anything better out there, they can still come back to the district and buy something at $20 or $25 for at least for themselves. I don't know if that helps.
We're going up to, we're in our whatever bidding proposal deal, and so the insurance committee met twice.
No, we did, remember we did this 2 years ago.
Oh, but they already met once
Yes.
this school year. And so what I'm saying is, everything is more because of the Affordable Care Act. What the insurance companies are saying is, now they have to carry the dependents to 26, and there's a maximum that anybody will have to pay, and then they have to pay 100% after that. It's something really low, like 6,000. So everybody after that, then they've got to cover. So they're not willing to give us what we've been getting in the past, the same amount of money. So we don't want to give less, but we just want to figure out, and I guess you agree with me that even though we would like to pay another $25, we really don't have to pay that money. But I just want to make you all aware that that's why I was asking for it, but I couldn't find the money to squeeze them.
That's what
And the pay raise we had already done earlier, because a lot of employees said they would have rather had that $25 and not.
Well, just one quick question. When you're saying we ask employees to contribute, is that a nice way of saying they have to? Okay. Well, that's what I'm asking is if, this isn't we're asking, it would be a change across the boards and it would be required by all. Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Howard, you said we're the only.
One of the very few, sir. Yeah. If normally in our comparisons, we compare ourselves in the top 5 of the city, so Northeast, Northside, San Antonio, Schertz, Cibolo, they're all contributing. The employees are also contributing to their benefits. One of the things I did want to make a clarification of is that in some of these districts, as Ms. Adair reflected, that they are up in the ballpark of $375. That is because they're also the district is also contributing to the employees' dependent premiums. So even though it may sound like they're giving them a lot, it's because they're also contributing towards the dependents. But when you comparatively look at their cost of premiums compared to what we have, tremendously higher. I mean, so even if they're, well, but they've got a lot more buying power. You know, when the district is paying $370 and the employee is still paying an additional $100, they're buying a greater amount of benefits. And so right now at $275, we're very confined. To be quite honest, we're looking at a 5 to 7% increase across the board. And it's unfortunate because one of the things that we can be very proud of is our stop loss has really gone down quite a bit since I've come on board. We used to exceed over 100%. We're now down below 98%. But unfortunately, with the changes with the ACA, we are across the board, everybody is going to be seeing a 5 to 7% increase. We even have federal employees, spouses who are in federal employment that are leaving their insurance to come to us. So it's not good. It's not good.
Just to clarify something real quick about the taxes, if the employees are asked to pay some portion of the benefit, like the $25, and we offer it under the Capture Section 125 plan, so they would not be paying taxes on that money. It'll be tax free.
Yeah.
Well, that part of it though is automatic. As soon as they sign up for the insurance, they're automatically going to Section 125. We don't give them the option of not having it, so we tax shelter it automatically. Yep. Yes, sir.
But you said if they contribute more,
Well, Mr. Adair made a comment a minute ago that the employees said instead of getting a pay raise, they would rather have us taken some of that money and paid more for health insurance because that way they wouldn't have to pay the taxes on that additional $25 per month of an increase if we increase it from $275 to $300. And I was just saying for clarification purposes, that's going to happen anyway. We would be taking it from the employee, but we're going to put it. They're going to be buying the insurance tax sheltered. So in other words, that means they're not going to pay.
they don't have to understand and figure anything out.
so
Payroll
we
is
say that in reality it's gonna pay off. Is that what you're saying? That basically you're saying
Well, they're not going to be paying taxes on the $25. They're going to be getting it in their paycheck. And what happens too, and I kind of explained to some of the board members.
that's deducted before they
Yes, exactly. Right.
which would be what, a little over $250 to
It-
$300?
Annually, it's $300. 12 months at $25. And one of the things too that I kind of explained to some of the board members the other day is that when you're giving a pay raise, you're helping that employee for the rest of their life if they retire from the retirement system. Because what happens is when they retire, they base their retirement on your best 5-year average of your pay.
We
Okay.
still have some of them on the 3.
There's some that are grandfathered under 3, but the majority are going to be under 5.
Right.
And so every time you do that, you're increasing their average salary. So, and if you give it to them directly, like a health, a contribution towards their health insurance, they're not getting that benefit. So you're taking care of them for right now, but they're not seeing that for their outer years. But if you do it the other way, then even when they retire, if they retire from TRS, they're going to see that in their retirement and carry it on forever through their lifetime.
So the benefits won't come.
That's correct.
Another,
That's correct.
I wanted to also piggyback on the conversation here about some of the benefits of having the employees contribute. It would also, because then at that point, the issues that we may face with substitute coverage become eliminated, because basically all we would have to do is tell the substitutes you have this option at $25. If they choose to decline, then we are no longer responsible and we cannot be, yeah, we can't be basically issued on surcharges at the end of the year on these individuals. Otherwise, the way it sits right now, we are going to have to then face a decision if we leave it structured as it is, how we will address the limiting of the work that substitutes can do in the district, because once they exceed 20 hours, then we are mandated by the new law to provide them the benefits. And let me just clarify, that 20 hours is not a federal number. It's the district standard of what we consider full-time eligible for benefits. So by saying that the employees are going to contribute, that then frees up that the substitutes have a choice, and they don't have to limit how much they work in the district to avoid having to come on our insurance.
We say $20 or 25, and I'm sorry, then if I want to do more, I would have to pay $20 a month.
At minimum, yes.
At minimum.
And then we would have to then revisit the plan options that we offer, because basically we'd have to just create what is considered a minimal plan to make eligible to them.
Okay, but
Well, right now, our employees do not have a choice, only their dependents, because we pay their premium at 100%.
But Mr. Flores, what if we say we're only gonna contribute 270 instead of 275? That means if they contribute 25, and that would open it up?
Yes.
We just have to make a decision as a board that we're going to require. $25 is a reasonable amount for employees to contribute, if you don't look crazy.
Ms. Adair, and I'd also just like to reference back to what you were saying earlier, is that the cost of the insurance is going up. And so what the decision, it's twofold. One, it'll give us some more flexibility with the ACA or the Affordable Health Care Act, but in addition, by having us maintaining our 275 and then having the employees add to that, that helps us to get a better plan for them for next year. To offer better things, like right now we're trying very hard to fight back for those prescription deductibles, and we're also asking for labs to be put back into the programs. Well, they can't really do that anymore because the costs have gone up so much that they have to pass it on. So we have to decide, are we going to absorb that, or are the employees going to absorb that?
Thank you. Well, a couple of questions I have, but I understand what June's saying. You know, we just need to make a decision. But I'm curious as the time frame too, just because, you know, $5 sounds great to me. 25 sounds reasonable to me, but that's to me. And we're talking about an awful lot of employees and what they think, and what have we done to reach out to them? Because with all due respect, some of y'all sitting in here too make more than our average employees, and so it's difficult for me to sit here and put a number on that without knowing a little bit more. So what kind of time frame are we on, and what have we done to hear from employees?
We need to make a decision before the employees come back to work.
Absolutely, but
You know,
we also,
they
but
need to know
employees still have time
what
to
their
give.
pay is going to look like, or if they're going to be expected to contribute. But
But it's not just
the
that.
insurance. When is our proposal thing going back?
Well, the proposals are coming back by the 16th of July. But to answer Ms. Williams' question directly, the insurance committee, the reason we have the insurance committee is to reflect the voice of our employees. And I don't think even Ms. Adair is aware, but the insurance committee themselves has already begun the conversation of we need to ask the employees to start contributing. They were actually kicking around a number or ballpark of about $30 to $50. So, you know, I think, yeah, she's way below that. But as a consensus right now, the committee feels strongly that the employees need to start contributing. It also brings into the account that people tend to take more ownership and responsibility in the use of the benefits if they're contributing. So
Absolutely, and that's definitely reassuring. I just still kind of, it's a tough time frame too when people can still give resignation if this is something that they're not interested, they don't like, it's not what's best for this particular individual. You know, we're coming up very quickly on the date that we allow people to resign. And if we're not making this decision until after that date, I'm just a little concerned about that. Even if it sounds like $25 isn't a whole lot.
Well, I've been listening to employees all year,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
they are not happy with the insurance coverage.
I agree with that.
And so that's when I asked Mr. McMahon, well, what's going on? You know, our employees aren't being taken care of this year. And that was the answer that that I got was, we can't give any more to your employees because you all are only giving $275. And even if we say part of what the other districts is doing is going to their dependents, in the end, the district is still contributing more money.
Right, absolutely.
So then when you say, if they don't like contributing, will they leave? Actually, they would be paying more if they go to another district.
And I don't argue that. I'm saying they have the option to leave.
Well, they always have the option.
Right. That was
They
my
leave over
point.
$25, believe me, that's not the problem.
I-
That was the other
I
thing I wanted to
agree,
point
yeah.
out. So $25 a month is a lot easier for people to manage in their budget than $6,600.
Absolutely.
Because even at the
Absolutely.
$25, that's less than the $600 they had to pay this year for the deductible before they could get their prescriptions filled. I mean, we're talking high blood pressure medicine. It's ridiculous.
Is 25 going to take care of that 600? I mean, not all 600, but I mean, is that going to
Right.
help? Instead of 600, maybe it might be 400.
And with the increased rates and everything,
We
I'm
won't
just
know
not sure
until the
it's gonna
proposals come back.
Okay.
Well, you
can't
kind of
really
already
tell
know.
what the companies are going to.
Yeah, but 25 times, you can tell it's still not going to get anywhere
Well,
close
I can tell you that when I asked them that same question, they said if the district could give 25 and the employee could give 25, that would give us 50 to work with, and we think we could get y'all a better insurance coverage plan, whatever the right words are, than you have this year. But I can't get 25 out of the district. We don't have
Right.
it. So
Right.
then, you know, I'm not ready to ask the employees for 50.
Right.
But the other part of that conversation that I think we need to have, and you know, none of these decisions are fun.
No.
You know, I haven't worked in years. I'm self-employed, and so I have to manage my money. And if I run out of money, I got to go work a little harder and, you know, sell some Mary Kay or something.
Okay.
But here's the point. You cannot not make a decision because we feel bad about what the people have to do.
Oh, yeah, I'm not suggesting I'll make a
But you-
decision.
no, you're not gonna
I'm
like the
just
last
asking
part of
the
what I
time
say.
frame. I'm asking the time
So
frame.
with that insurance part, I just heard the superintendent say, no, I didn't. I heard Ms. Howard say, forgive me, Dr. Mackey, that we consider 20 hours as full-time. Where did that come from?
That's what my next question was, is where
I
does
think
anybody
we need to
consider 20
change that.
hours? Yeah.
I don't know any
can-
job that does 20 hours
I
full-time.
can tell you where it came from.
Okay.
Historically, I mean, this is many moons ago.
Historically.
When we were having a very difficult time finding bus drivers and child nutrition personnel. So, and it started really in the child nutrition department, to say, even if you work 20 hours for us, because usually the people who were the kitchens just serving, you know, they were working about that many hours, that we would provide them benefits, including leave and everything. So that's where that 20-hour standard started developing, so we could offer the 20-hour people benefits. You'll start with that department.
So,
That makes sense, but if we change that, are we going to have trouble in those areas?
well, just
Because
to
those are
say,
areas we already
you would
have
to
trouble in.
grandfather. But how about
Well-
this? If we'd say the employees, and let's start with the teachers, librarians, and counselors, let's say 25. bus drivers, clerical, they're not professional. The clerical, 15. All administrators, I guess you start directors, principals, vice principals, maybe they could go to 30. Could that be possible?
It could be, but it does open us up for discrimination complaints.
Okay. So we say 25 across the board, then we're okay.
If we say
Remember, the clerks and
that would
custodians, they
maybe,
don't earn as much.
right, that would maybe maintain what we have, but again, the things that the employees are asking for, we would not be able to get for them. I could not get the vendors to, providers to give us back the prescription deductibles or the labs, blood work, testing,
And if we want to
MRIs.
say we're gonna do this at one time, that,
The reason that it can't be is because the ACA does not allow us to flip-flop them. Once they're free to go, they have to be free to go. We cannot keep changing that from year to year.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I think when I first looked at the issue of attrition and retention, the first thing that I looked at potentially was not compensation, was benefits. I think I had stated that maybe we should look at being the district that has the best benefits in the district, and that's a pretty expensive proposition. I mean, it's not inexpensive to do that. We would really have to invest resources and money to do that. Spin off a little bit from the benefits for a second. Noting that our average teacher length, or I should say employee, in the district is around 6.2, 6.5 years since 09, 010. We're having an issue retaining teachers beyond that period of time. Now, this is average, so I know that some exceed that time and some leave. But in trying to address this 6.2, 6.4, 6.5 average with the district, I'm looking at ways to potentially remedy this barrier, and we really have a ceiling. So if benefits are not going to be the draw, compensation may have to be that draw. And I know that that's also very complicated. I do want to say on record, Mr. Elizondo provided me some really good information in addition to what I had, so thank you for doing that. That kind of illustrated how the compensation and salary was being paid out. I was concerned that we were not addressing salary between 7 and 14 years, and that proportionally we were giving teachers from 0 to 6 years more than 7 to 14, which might explain why we're losing teachers right at that 6-year mark. But it looks like we're pretty level, so that was reassuring to hear. But now we're back to the same issue, though. What do we need to do to break this barrier of 6.2, 6.4, 6.5? We're obviously not going to answer that question here today, no matter what we decide to do with benefits or with compensation. But it does beg the question that we do need to devise a strategy so that we can do something. I'll deviate a little bit more. One of the things that I might think might be worth discussing would be to offer an increase in salary for those teachers between 7 and 12 years of experience. That way there's an additional element of gratitude and maybe some reassurance that they should stay with the district longer. This is just my rough idea. Of course, we need Dr. Mackey, we need HR, and so on, and be a part of this conversation. But basically what I would think would work would be we would identify those employees, or I should say teachers, because really I'm targeting teachers, nurses, librarians. I'm talking about that part of our employees. We would pay them an additional $200 in their salary as sort of our own retention bonus for that segment of employee. So anyway, just wanted to put that out there because I know we're having healthy discussion about benefits, but looking at what we can do right now and sort of tabling the idea of what we can do in terms of benefits and additional compensation. But if we've already identified a problem, and that problem being that our average time of employees with our district is in that 6-year ballpark, and the state average is higher, the region average is higher, then we clearly have our marching orders. So that's what I put out there. And I don't know if a $200 raise for teachers, nurses, and librarians within the 7 to 12 year ballpark would do any good, or I don't know. That's what we're talking.
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
The only problem, and I don't have my document that shows the year-to-year, but, yeah, but we don't,
12 and 13.
yes, because we
There's
don't,
a-
we have a set amount that we do incrementally, and if we pop in 7 to 13, we'll mess up our pay scale, because we did that one year. The board, I don't even remember what we did, but we did something, and we screwed up the whole pay scale, and
You can do it real easily.
and they and they had to come back and reformat the whole scale. So I would say if you did it, you can't do 7 to 13. You're gonna have to take it all the way out, because otherwise you're gonna hit a bottleneck in there somewhere, and then you're gonna have a
I
problem.
read somewhere we've seen a lot of reports. I mean, literally, thank you. I think I've requested some of those reports, but we've read a lot of things. I want to say that I saw a report that stated we have about 336 employees that fall between 6 and 10 years. Is there any way to validate that, or you know what I'm talking about?
Right, and the report you're referring to is the data that's in the AEIS report, and basically it gives you the average amount of employees that we have in years of experience groups. So they break it up 0 to 1, 0 to 3, 3 to 5, etc. So that's what you're looking at, is that we have approximately 300 employees that are in that.
Okay. Can I say something? And Mr. Macias,
Yes.
I don't believe we're gonna keep employees to stay between what you say 7 and 12 for $200. I guarantee you, sir, that's not gonna be a motivational thing. But as far as benefits, yes, we need to do something.
Well, and again, I can accept that. Again, I told you the issue itself is a complicated one that's not going to be answered right here. But it certainly doesn't mean we ignore it because we don't have a solution for it. So we need to figure out what we need to do to raise that bar. And I probably will continue to work on this with administration and my colleagues here throughout the year, so that next budget cycle we may have a real formidable plan. But in the interim, we still have time, as Ms. Beth had alluded earlier. I think July 10th is where a teacher can withdraw without penalty in terms of coming back. So we may see some additional leave based on what we decide to do. So if it's $200, and it's really just like the retention bonus, it's a symbolic gesture that we want you to stay. So I would hate to say $500, and all of a sudden we're talking a major increase.
How much is 200?
I don't know, because I still agree with you, Mr. Dare. Maybe the 7 to 12 is a bad idea. We should probably play from maybe 8 years straight up and do that. But I don't know how many employees that would constitute. And again, my target is teachers. So I don't know how many teachers would fall within, say, 8 years plus for the district. But we can get an idea if we knew that number and then multiply it times 200.
Well, the important thing right now is what Ms. Adair said, the insurance. The employees are, basically, there's very, very little benefit for 275. So I think that's what we need to concentrate on right now. We can do a study later as to, I believe Mr. Flores at one time said, well, let's do a 1,200 or whatever. But right now, the concern is the insurance. What can we do? Are we gonna start the year by saying, okay, employees, you're gonna contribute $25. And then Jose said, well, basically, it'll be non-taxable if they go to the cafeteria plan, is that what you said, sir? It could be deducted as a non-salary, which would be a little help. So,
Well,
but that's what we need to decide.
Well, I agree, and I'm going to disagree with you here on record that it's not all about the insurance. The insurance itself will be more expensive right off the bat. I think Dr. Mackey used a figure of $900,000 already for that potential. Am I correct in that? So we don't have $900,000. I think if we were targeting $200 pay increase for a certain sector of our teachers, that would be less. It may be $250,000. So if we're going to, look at strategies at retention, we got to look at what's going to cost less and still study it. I'm not saying to abandon the idea of benefits, but at this point, we don't have $900,000, and I certainly don't want to leave here with at least trying to fire a couple of shots at trying to determine what's going to keep teachers in the classroom. And again, the numbers speak for themselves. 6.2, and we can't break 7-year average here for teachers or employees with this district. We need to start doing something about that.
But you don't know if they're going
We
to
don't.
the teaching profession or if they're going to another district or
Well,
something else.
all
You
I
don't know
can
that.
all I can base is what the average with other districts are, and we're below. I mean, there are districts that have a stronger with district average than we do. In fact, I think the average per state is 8.0, and right now we're at 6.5. I mean, we need to achieve excellence means we need to have teachers in the classroom. And so I can't say that we're actively doing anything that's strategic to keep teachers in this
Maybe
classroom.
it's the principals.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the majority of our employees are teachers.
Well, but who hires the teacher? The principal. HR doesn't have anything to do with teachers.
Well, and I didn't say it was HR. I said it was a district issue.
Well,
I said it was a district issue. Yeah.
I'm saying,
Yeah, I've never said Elaine Howard is making her teachers leave. No, I didn't say that at all. So I'm just saying it's a district issue, and we need to address it as a district. And so the first way to consider this possibly is a pay increase. I mean, I really don't know what else is in our arsenal, but obviously we're going to need surveys. We're going to need something much more comprehensive than what we're going to be able to do right now. But I certainly don't want to leave the table without doing something. And I can tell you now, insurance, great, we don't have $900,000. That's just not viable right now. So we can sit here and talk about it all day, but if we don't have that money, we don't have that money.
But we need to, go ahead, man.
Ms. Howard, is it possible, can you tell us how many employees that we have that are 30 hours plus versus under? In other words, how many employees would be affected if we made a decision to go to full-time consist of 30 hours?
That would take out your entire, except the administrative staff for both departments, child nutrition and transportation.
So our bus drivers don't get 30 hours?
Not guaranteed.
Some of them do, but
They're
not
only
all.
guaranteed 25. They're guaranteed 5 hours.
They're guaranteed 25.
And when-
Okay, and then how many is child nutrition guaranteed?
Some, maybe 4 hours a day. Yeah. Yeah, about 4 hours a day, so 20 hours a week.
I have a lot of people in the community that I know that live here that do those jobs. And sometimes it's hard to make decisions when you know people. But I will tell you that from a business standpoint, and I would say that, even if they were sitting here looking at me, you don't get full-time benefits for 20 hours. McDonald's does not give it. A lot of things we've done. When I looked at this budget this year and I was just going over it, you know what I found? Because we're rural and we have all these little towns, we really made our district a workplace so people could have a job. And we're paying benefits and we're paying salaries because we're the neighborhood employer. But we've grown beyond that now, and we just can't keep operating in that manner, not if you want to have a fully staffed educational environment for our kids. Don't get me wrong, Mr. Gonzalez, I like the Adventure Club. I have 6 kids, but, I don't know that the Adventure Club is a good way for us to spend our money when we need to spend our money on educational things. I mean, just a whole lot of things we do that are nice. And at some point, y'all gonna have to figure it out next year. I won't be here.
But we're gonna have to figure out how to be an educational institution.
Yes, it is.
I'm waiting on my report. Do I have that tonight? Well, let's hear it. I'll lead right into that.
We gotta find some money somewhere.
Community ed, doesn't pay for itself. Adult ed is paid through the Region Center. The Region Center through a grant is helping pay, the adult ed, but we're still using our facilities and all that stuff. Yeah, GD and, the bilingual and all of that. ESL is through that. However, the Adventure Club revenue, we get, revenue 1.1. We pay 6.3, non-payroll 60,000, and it come up to a positive about $423,000 to the black. Just at Adventure Club, and that's not counting custodial, that's not counting utilities, use of the building and all of that. That's not counting that. That's all.
We're making $423,000.
Yes,
And then because.
but that's not counting, yeah.
Because we're using our staff, then when they exceed 40 hours, we're paying them.
We paid nearly all, yes. All our staff, whether it's custodials, it's maintenance, I mean, whoever we use, we have a standard base of $9 for an aide, $12, I think, for a supervisor. Then when they come on board, they just about have their 40 hours. They work 4 hours and it goes up to 40 hours and we pay them a time and a half. That's why we're seeing the time and a half right there. So our supervisors are already getting time and a half, so they, instead of getting the $12, they're making $18 an hour. The overall program.
Yeah, if you don't count the use of our
Facilities.
But I think it may not be 400,000, but just figure at least half of that. Would that be a fair estimate?
Mr. Gonzalez had his hand up.
Well, we kind of discussed that earlier today. The custodians are still going to be there on campus. A lot of the Adventure Club folks, they kind of clean up after themselves anyway. But if the custodians coordinate their work properly, then they don't have to clean that area until those kiddos are gone. So they're only going to clean that area one time anyway. So it's not an additional cost for us. The building space, we're already paying for it anyway. As far as the space itself, it already belongs to the school district. The only thing that we determine would be an incremental cost is utilities, and only in the regard that, if they go to the toilets or whatever, flush the toilet, the water gets used. The air conditioning, because they're probably going to do a different set point. If they're indoors, if they're outdoors in the gym, then that's not happening. But if they're indoors, then there's going to be an incremental cost for having the AC a little bit lower or the heat a little bit higher in the summer or winter. But that we don't. I think Mr. Flores is right that you could take half of that money and say that's going to be attributed to the utilities, and it still would be in the positive about $250,000.
We know the other piece of that we talked about all year, and that is we never did get the whole school year, we never got more slots for the parents to be able to put their kids that were in waiting list. And y'all kept telling me y'all were gonna hire somebody, and did it ever happen? Yeah, I'm talking to you. You're the one supposed to know about this. What do you mean it's a facilities issue?
Well, it depends on how many rooms we're given. We're also allotted so much space by code, so we can't overrun the.
Well, Mr. Gonzalez, if our campuses can hold 800 kids for school, then why can't you hold 800 kids
Be-
for after school?
Because we're only allotted the gym and the cafeteria.
But that's a district policy. Mr. Kirchner could allot you more rooms if that's what you need.
Well, we gain permission from the campus principals
Uh-huh.
for the cafeteria, the gym, and a computer room, and that's where we use up a lot of our space and our slots.
Principals through the year, and they said the Adventure Club did not hire more people for all of their kids to be taken care of. And when we talked about it at the board meeting, you said y'all were looking into that, and you knew that you had waiting lists. And so with the Boys and Girls Club, and I don't know anybody in the Boys and Girls Club, I don't have a connection to the Boys and Girls Club, I don't know anybody in the Boys Club. Okay, but they hire more people when there are more children that need to be served. So if we're going to do it and we're gonna make money, then I think we should do it. My grandma would say, go whole hog.
Well, I can tell you that we want to stay within our allotment of rooms, and we have done that. We've asked for a certain number of spaces. We've gotten those, and we've filled them when we've had the opportunity to, when we worked with the principal.
So are you telling me that in the board, that the principal will not give you more rooms? Are you telling me that Mr. Kirshner won't give you more rooms? Are you telling me that y'all just don't want to have more kids?
I'm telling you that with the allotted space that we have, we utilize, we have certain slots.
How many kids are on the waiting list?
But well, let me,
Different schools have different amounts.
Okay.
All year, they never made space for those kids.
our highest slots are going to be at Salinas and Olympia. And at Salinas this year, we had to limit that. We had about 25 to 50 slots at a given time where they were waiting. And so sometimes people leave, and those slots are first come, first served, so they get filled. We never fill them all at the same time, or we're never able to fill them 100% because of the spots that we have and the room utilization that we have. So we can't go beyond fire code.
Well, can't this board say, hey, we can open up more rooms?
I don't think it takes the board. I think the superintendent has the
No.
authority.
Can I
to
ask
open
him-
how many rooms
well,
you want.
can I
Dr.
ask-
Rankin, what's the problem?
It's not a problem. It's a matter of space because we don't want to get overrun with kids.
How many kiddos are in like the most populated adventure clubs total for slots, not wait spots, but how many?
Once again, it would be the Adventure Club for Salinas, and
Sure.
for Olympia would be at capacity with approximately
With how many? I'm sorry,
90.
90. Okay. And how many adults are in there for 90 kids?
There's one supervisor and three Adventure Club personnel that work.
How many
So-
adults per child?
So it's 20. Oh, well, if it's a supervisor, then it's one for 30. But
1.5, Mr. Derrick.
if you count the supervisor, yeah. And the supervisor is always on the campus, does not leave the campus?
Does not leave the campus.
Okay,
And
so they're
to answer
coming-
the question about the custodian, the supervisor along with the Adventure Club staff mop up and clean, take up the trash, except for some of the messes that they do leave. They work with the custodian staff to ensure that their spaces are cleaned up as well. So it's not that we're trying to leave the rooms a mess, because we know that they're leaving and at a certain time. And we're there until 6:30, until the last kid is picked up. So we try to work to not be a problem on the campuses.
Now, I don't want to be misunderstood. My granddaughter went to Adventure Club this year. Every time I went to Ed France, the cafeteria was clean. The students were either at their tables working, or they were outside working. The Adventure Club, they have a well-run program. They do homework or whatever. So, I'm not trying to say that the Adventure Club does not do a good job. But I am trying to say that if you have a campus of 800 kids, we got 90 spots. So what I heard was that the Boys and Girls Club, they do better. So the parents whose kids were at the Boys and Girls Club are talking to the parents of the kids at the Adventure Club, and they're saying, well, we can't get our kids in, but if you go to the Boys and Girls Club, so they go, well, why do y'all have that Adventure Club? Why don't you just let the Boys and Girls Club do it?
And Mr. Kirshner, please help me clarify. I don't think, okay, yes, they are. Okay, anyway, the difference is, though, with Boys and Girls Club is they require full-time rooms that they keep all day. So right now, they're only at 2 schools because we don't have facilities. Yes, he's confirming right over here. We have a contract. So they have a room that they take. So we don't have most of our schools don't have
have room.
extra rooms. Right. So the 2 schools are in had space, is why they're there, and they have those rooms. Let him answer that one.
They are.
No, but they set up games and all kind of other stuff.
So why don't we just, and I guess what in the end of the conversation is, Dr. Mackey, can we increase our amount of Adventure Club participation for the
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to follow up on that earlier question. I went ahead and pulled up our last AEIS report, or TAPR report, and I identified how many teachers it states that we have in years of experience. So if we have from 6 to 10 years, it states we have 339.4 teachers. 11 to 20, we have 326 teachers. 20 years plus, we have 149 teachers. I kind of rounded up. That comes out to about 817 teachers that would fit the 6+ year demographic. Remember, we're losing teachers that's after 6 years on average. So if we were to give every teacher $200, that would be $163,400 that would be paid out as a stipend to that group. And
That's how you would do it?
that's how I'm rationalizing it. But the other thought on this too is the last year's compensation plan, based on what Mr. Elizondo had did, shows that when you enter this district as a brand new spanking teacher in 2013 and 14, your base salary was $47,000. After 6 years with the district, your base salary was $47,300. With the new proposed budget increases for this year, a new teacher is going to make $48,450, and a teacher at 6 years coming in is going to make $48,750. That's a $300 increase. Now, Mr. Elizondo, this is where I had my issue the last time in terms of the step increase. So please confirm that what I'm seeing here is just a $300 difference from 0 to 6. How does someone come in and that not be the scenario where they're just getting $300 difference?
And I'm sorry, I'm looking at the paper you're looking at, but when they come into 0 1 year, like the 2000, thank you. So if I'm looking at 2008, 2009 beginning?
Yeah, like right here, I'm looking at $47,000 here for 2013, 14.
Okay. So if that teacher, and your question is exactly what? If you're looking at
Like there's a $300 difference, like for a 6-year experienced teacher at $47,300 when they came in at 47, well, a zero.
Okay.
Teacher with
Well,
zero
that
experience.
teacher that came in at 0 years in 2013-14 is not going to be here in 2013-14 with 6 years of experience.
Okay.
That scale would have changed by the time they've gotten to 6 years. So if we back up a little bit and we look at these other scales a little bit and we go back to 2008-9 and we look at a 0-year teacher, they would start school district with $44,150. They would have started that.
Okay.
And if they stayed here through year 6, well, we would have gone in 2009-10, they would have been at 1 year. In 2010-11, they would have been in 2 years. 11-12, they would have been at 3 years. 12-13, they would have been at 4 years. 13-14, they would have been at 5 years. And 14-15, they would have been at 6 years. So if we look across here, that teacher that was making $44,150 in 2008-9, now they're going to be making $48,750.
But that's proposed, though. That's a new one that's proposed. This is where they would.
Well, not proposed. This is the board already adopted this.
They already adopted?
The board approved this in January, February timeframe.
Okay, so, but it's still $48,450 for a 0-year teacher.
If we were going to hire a brand new teacher next school year, they would be making $48,450.
Now, granted, I'm not a
Is that right? 45? Did we change it by 50 bucks?
Thank you.
Sure, sure.
But I think you see the differential still is very small from a first-year teacher to a sixth-year teacher in terms of compensation. It's not a big window.
It's $50 a year. Looking at the sheet we got today, there's a $50 a year difference from 0 to 8. Would that be correct?
That's correct, but again, you're looking at, if a teacher came into Judson ISD this year, they've never worked for us before, okay, and they came to us with 0 years of experience, they would be making that 40, help me out here a little bit, they would be making the 48,450. All right. If we hired a brand new teacher to Judson ISD with 8 years of experience, they would be making,
48,850.
that's correct. So that, if you look at just those two numbers, then yes, there is that $400 differential between those numbers. That doesn't mean that teacher, but I just don't want it to be misconstrued as saying, oh, if you work for us for, since you had 0 years of experience, and now you have 8 years of experience, and you've been with us those whole 8 years, that you're only making $400 more than you were making when you started. That's not true.
No, that would be
Right.
true. But just, basically, we're giving from 0 to 8 years, we're giving a $50 increase.
That's not the same teacher.
If I come in this year with 0 years,
Right.
I'm gonna get 48,450.
Right.
If my friend comes
I can see that. And I did agree with the sentiment here that we need to be very careful with the salary and compensation plan, that we really can't throw it out of whack. So I'm sensitive to that idea. But looking at that, and if we do have that gap between 8 and 9, perhaps that's a strategy. And mind you, again, this is only step one. We have about 100 more strategies to implement before we start tackling this retention and attrition issue. But at least it'll be a start. So even if we target that, gentlemen, ladies, that would be helpful to add some funding to that particular difference in years.
Okay, can we go now to the other one that you had there was curriculum, college, and career readiness funding?
Yeah, I'm not sure we wrapped up the other one, though. I mean, I don't know what the deal is. I don't like to leave things open-ended. We just talk and we waste a lot of breath and nothing happens. So either I'll make this motion and it'll get... I understand that. I complete it, and I'm not going to make the motion right now. So calm down. So I'll make the motion at the board meeting to accept this when we have our budget meetings. So if I'm going to make that motion, then we better have enough information about this because it'll be on record that we voted yea or nay for it.
I'd like
So-
to come back to this. I want to do a little math while y'all are talking about the other stuff.
Okay, well, that's fine. But again, that's something that we just can't do as a board, leave something open. We need to have some definition of what we want to do. And again, I'm really going to be adamant about a strategy. I just feel we don't have enough of a strategy right now. And we have a lot of holes. So in terms of curriculum, this question I had just concerned a little bit, and Ms. Robinson's gone a long way to alleviate a lot of my concerns. Thank you very much for that. But naturally, when we're cutting our curriculum budget and the degree that we're cutting it, I get a little scared. I mean, right now, when we get back to community, they're thinking that's what you should be increasing your budget on. Curriculum is why we're here. So with those concerns in mind, I wanted just to review again some of the major cuts and why they're occurring so that I feel comfortable when I vote on Wednesday to adopt the budget. So if you don't mind, Ms. Robinson. Basically, you have some major cuts. I don't have the list with me. I thought I brought the right paper, so you don't have it neither, do you? Okay, that's fine. That's not a problem. I will identify it because I have a previous budget. But basically, there were some cuts. Forgive me. I will look. That's exactly the one. Ms. Bettis just sent it.
Is it under documents and box?
It's an attachment, actually, on the email. It might be on box as well, but I looked on my email. Okay, thank you, Mr. Elizondo. So looking at some of these, the science specialist in the elementary, middle school, and high school, there's a huge variance, 34,000, 23,000, 37,000 in those areas. So if you could just address what's happening there.
Yeah, let me just turn to that page, I'm sorry.
No problem. I wasn't prepared as well, Ms. Robinson, so no worries.
Yeah, for science, I can tell you that we spent some IMA money and some 999 money in the last 2 years buying equipment. Do you remember we bought quite a bit of science equipment and science safety issues? And so that's part of the reason. The other was all their budget wasn't spent. And so when it came to tightening, we tightened in that area. Ms. Grady might could speak. Is there any other reason that you know of for science being less? Yeah.
Then there was another more, probably easy to explain, but the variance was huge again. This is the one in regards to the books for high school literacy room.
Yes, and that's a typo, and he can confirm it. Should have said elementary literacy. We asked for high school in the budget for next year. Last year, we had elementary, and what we ended up doing was we were able to buy out of federal money for that. So that's what we did. If we don't have to spend the local, we don't. If we can find another, we ask for it, but then sometimes during the year, we're able to use other funding. Because this rolls over back into general in the federal, if we can find other funding sources. So that really should have said elementary. We're asking for some high school money for next year, and we can't buy it out of federal because they're not title.
The College Board suite that we purchased.
Yes, sir.
Is it in here?
Yes, let me see. It is on here. It is on the page that at the very top says Network Services, that page. It's about halfway down. It says Princeton Review, then it says New AP Books, then it says SAT Suite.
I see.
And the reason that's a little bit, when we bought the whole suite, the tests individually actually were cheaper than without buying the entire suite.
So we still have that $74,000 has already been spent, I think, or that's a balance right
Well,
now.
we put in, yes, because we put in money last budget for the suite. You all voted on it last month because College Board actually takes the orders now because it's an October test. And so what happened is if we don't put it in the budget a year ahead, then we can't order it in time.
Okay. Well, I know that
make sense?
we're
Yeah.
keen on a lot of different factors. The SAT scores, I know that the suite is allowing us to give every senior the opportunity to take the SAT, and I do understand that the law of averages will hurt us. The more people that are taking the test, our scores will on average, will fall. But I do like the empowerment it gives our students to know that they can take the exam and prepare for it. We had talked a little bit about it during the Princeton Review to have additional math tutoring. Can you tell me where that might come out?
What Princeton Review can do is they have a curriculum now that at the beginning of that course, they can work on going back and filling in gaps, but in addition to doing the prep for the test.
Okay. Our
I gave you the
capacity?
brochure
No, I know.
for
But
it,
the
yeah.
capacity for the program is how much? How many students again?
Well, what is a full schedule, Dr. Mackey High School, number of students? Per teacher, 126?
High school, 28.
Yeah, but full schedule, if I'm teaching every period but one.
If you're teaching 6 periods a day.
Yes, sir.
6 times 28.
Okay. Because they have a full-time teacher.
Yeah.
So they can full 6 periods of 28 students
I guess.
is the max, and we're thinking about maybe adding an ACT to that.
Okay. My concern is I don't think we have an unlimited amount of capacity in the Princeton Review format. It's only X
We
amount of
don't.
students.
And that's why it's kind of good with the SAT suite. We do get online test prep for that for kids. We have a lot of kids that have computer access and like
Sure.
to do that. So
And-
they have both.
Well, and obviously the students that may not have access to computers at home, those are the segment of students we're trying to reach as well and trying to capture everyone.
And then we have camps in the summer as well for SAT prep. Last year, they were full. I didn't get the enrollment for this year yet to bring to you, but I can certainly do that. Because we also offer those during the summer.
Well, I know it doesn't begin and end with SATs at the end, but it certainly is a nice indicator of how well performing all the way around. So I'm going on faith. They sound rational. Your rationale for reducing funding in some of these areas for curriculum. Obviously, if we need to shore something up, you'll come back with us and say, hey, we need to expend some dollars.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's all I had for curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I have a question, Mr.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Dr. Mackey, when we had our board meeting last week, we talked about the title monies and the percentages, et cetera. Can we get the figures on what we received? And I know she told me, but I don't have my notes what we received the previous year and what we're gonna get this year? It was
Last
a
year?
slight, it was a slight
Last year,
increase.
mhm.
And then how much are we going to give each campus this year versus what they got last year? And then where that comp ed money's gonna come in at. The only thing that I wasn't paying close attention to, but when you mentioned it, I remembered you did tell us, and that was that we were doing away with those paras.
Yeah, those are your.
Right.
Right. And so I'm trying to see, did we replace those paras with teachers, or did we just leave a hole there?
No, they put units together to get a teacher.
You want teacher.
Okay, okay. So, then the question would go back to Ms. Howard. Did we find those individuals
A few pairs that were.
positions that were, that their positions were done away with Title I? Because you weren't here when, someone said that they had been notified a year ahead. Did we place those people?
Well, to be quite honest, the majority of them placed themselves because they knew that this was coming, so they applied for other positions. So I would say probably 90% of them have been placed. They placed themselves. We did not place them. They
Okay.
applied for other positions, which is what we encouraged them to do. And that's just the title aids that we're referring to.
Wanted to give them a whole year's notice, because then a dyslexia position came up, or this came up, or whatever. Things came up and they applied for it.
So you just tell us how much each school is gonna get?
Yes.
I can get to that information. I can give it to Dr. Mackey.
But isn't,
We already, yes, we provided that for you,
isn't
but
that based on the number of students? How can they say right now?
Mr. Elizondo can certainly clarify, he's the expert, but the way I remember it is that we get a certain amount predicting, and then if we have more, then they adjust it and give us more money maybe, or some point in the spring. Yeah. Snapshot. Mhm. Yes, ma'am. Right, but then we get money, they always adjust that. I don't know how many, well, that's federal, they adjust it, if we have more students, then
I guess it sounds a little philosophical tonight, but I really want the board to, I went to the CASB, meetings and heard some House Bill 5-7 instructions, more requirements, and I want the board to really think about what we're doing. We were brought a budget, I personally didn't think we had enough budget meetings at the time, but there's only a set amount of money, and we just can't do everything. And so if we, the board, we have a lot of great ideas, I think all my ideas are great, and I'm sure you do. But if we don't have the funding, and that's why I always pick on Ms. Robinson, because in my years here, she's been the best person that when she brings the board something, she already knows where her money's gonna come from and what it's gonna cost. And so we've got to do that this year because it's the board really adding things that, is kind of not helping this. And I'm taking responsibility, that's why I dropped my insurance $25 a month. If y'all notice, I didn't say anything about my substitute, y'all didn't give us $5, but I did ask. Because I know we don't have an infinite amount of money.
I agree, but let me just also add to that, if you don't mind. The other thing is, there's 100 things we could do, but we have one person doing 5 jobs. So we also can't do more than we can manage. Just because we could buy all these things doesn't mean we have people over here that can implement it or manage it. And so when we plan, we really have to be careful on what's going to get us the biggest bang. And it might be that we too would like to do 10 more things, and even if we had the money, we don't have the people. Yeah, and nothing's worse than buying stuff and not implementing it correctly or following through. Nothing's worse than that.
You
So
know,
I just want, as a consideration.
yeah, Mr. Dare, I remember 7 years ago, we had purchased some items and did some things in the district when I came aboard, and I didn't understand why. there's an old saying, don't tear that fence down till you know why that fence is up there. So I looked and reviewed some things, and just like net school, we had net school and paid over $600,000 for net school, and we got Eduforia for $84,000. Served the same thing, and net school never came out of the box, and we did away with things like that. Right now, Dr. Gill she's been in my office probably more this week, and she's probably been in the office the whole time she's been there, but we've been covering some things, and she understands the special ed department. Give you an example. I kept asking a question about LSSPs, diagnosticians, and speech therapists. She showed me where we're 10 over or we're 6 over. She showed me throughout the state and throughout the region, we have more employees, that we became an employment agency, and we overstaff, and that's why I keep visiting Ms. Elizondo, that we're so far over on our special ed, because we've been very relaxed in hiring people, and when they complain about the load, that they have 80 kids when they should have 150 kids. And I asked Dr. Gill, I said, well, what is going on in that department? She said, well, we paying them to attend parties on the campuses and all that stuff. Yes, it's happened. So she's going through and cleaning up all that stuff, and we have a reduction in force from this year to next year. We're cutting it out because we want to gradually do it instead of just doing it all at one time, because now the people have to adjust from 80 kids to 100 kids to 125 kids to get up to 160 kids, because she's doing a survey in other districts. That's what they're doing. You have the money, but you have to better utilize the staff that you have. It's just like over here at the ERC, the business office. We're combining a lot of staff. If you go back and look at the AEIS report, we're 1 point something compared to other people, 2.5 to 3%. Because I'm running a lean machine over here, and it's putting a lot of stress on people here. But like those positions, we know a lot of positions that we have to cut back on. We're going to have to cut back on these positions because we've been very relaxed in that aides and LSSPs, diagnosticians, speech therapists, in that department, in our special ed department, that budget has just escalated, because every time we look around, we see a kid, well, I need another, a teacher says, I need another aide. Well, because you have one kid. They want one kid for one aide, and things like that. When you start doing that, yes, it's good, but when you start doing that, you start cutting back on everything else. You hit a key point. We only have a certain amount of money. I've been doing this for 16 years. Been here in Judson for 7 years. How many times we've been over budget at the end of the year? That's right. One time we went over budget because the board added on to that stuff. The board added on while we went over budget. 1 year I've been here. I'm saying it. That we took it out of fund balance, but we went over that. That's the only year that's ever happened to me. I've never had that to happen. One year on that right there. So yes, there's money. We have to go back, and now times are tight. We got to go back and tighten up some of these things. You mentioned it a few minutes ago. We're not an employment agency. You just like that 30 hours. I mean, who else is doing that? This is, Mr. Elizondo says, it's been going on for years. I've been asking the question, why do we do that? But every year we continue to do it. So these are things that you know, it depends on what is it that we want to do. What are our principles in our district? You have to have principles. What is the most important thing that you want to do to help kids? Because you can't do it all. So when that's established, then we have a direction to go. But when it's not established, we're just like a shotgun. We're shooting at everything and missing everything. So not doing enough. Yeah.
Also, go ahead.
I went to a session, and I wasn't aware of it. Senate Bill 460. that is required, okay, Texas educators are required by Senate Bill 460 to learn to identify students with mental or emotional disorders and provide positive behavioral interventions and support in the educational setting. This is, your buddy, Dr. Wilcox. We're doing it all? Yes. Are all our teachers trained? You said everybody has to be trained, principal?
There's a requirement for additional training.
Mandated on funding, no problem.
Well, I mean, that's all.
We're having this summer, I know I was visiting Ms. Robinson today and what's her name, staff development? D. Thomas, that we're doing more staff development and more training this year. We've having to open up more training than we've ever had. And you know what's been so good about it? Our teachers have been coming to the training. They are flocking in here like they've never been before for all this training. It's been good, very good.
Sir, you were talking about special ed, that they're over budget. Also, what they need to look at is the consultants that are coming in, okay? It's not only our employees, the consultants that are coming in. And again, and I've said it, I think we hired real professional people that they need, and they are taking an extra step to do a lot of the step development. So, and you and I have spoken about this before. The latest one that I heard, and I don't know, I just heard it and I haven't had a chance to talk to you, that we're bringing in consultants to do the master schedule for all the principals. Well, but it's always done. The principals have always done the
paid $4,500, and I brought in a person not to come and do it for them, but to show them how they can better utilize their staff and a master schedule. They sit there and showed me where one campus was 11 and a half staff members over in doing that. They went to 2 more campuses where there are 2 staff members over, because I had a principal and HR. We were at they were in a disagreement. So I said, let me get a third person to look at it and to show them. Now, these people asked for that. They wanted someone to show them how to do this, because now, you're right, the principals, yes, they want extra staff, and they did not know how to build a master schedule, and they were hiring extra staff. So we showed them how to do that. How to do that, yes.
But we have professional people in your staff that could have gone over there maybe and worked with them on the master schedule, whether it's $4,500 or whatever, you know. But if they don't know how to do a master schedule, maybe that's one of the professional developments that needs to be done for all the principals, instead of bringing in somebody. And that's what I'm talking about, consultants.
It was
not only
hands-on.
for special ed, but maybe for the whole district.
It was a hands-on training for them, for these individuals. They got hands-on and individual training. Yes, that's good. We have some people, yes, that know how to do that, but it was taking them away from their job and doing other things. And this took about 3 days to do this throughout there, and it saved us a lot of money, because as people left, you know, as people left, we were able to consolidate the job, and the principals were very thankful that we now, hopefully, we don't need anybody to do that, hold their hands and do that anymore.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
While you,
Okay. Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
while you were talking about the master schedule and we're talking about seats, at the high schools, Dr. Mackey, when you first came, I know our coaches weren't teaching. Did the master schedules and the numbers that were allocated this year, do we have our coaches, are they slotted with classes, or are they just coaches only?
I only know let's say, someone tell me different. The head coach is the only one that doesn't have a full schedule.
So all the coaches are employed, other than coaches.
You know, when I got here, there wasn't that.
I know, but I just want to make sure it hasn't slipped back.
If it did, I don't know anything about it, you know. But that's something that we can look at that. When we look at that master schedule, we'll know. You can verify, Mr.
No, only the athletic coaches
Coordinators.
for each campus are the only ones that don't have a schedule. Everyone else has one, teaching a full schedule. Mhm.
Okay,
I had a question about
Yes,
the
sir.
follow-up in regards to Dr. Mackey's special ed communication. I guess when we had our Gibson Consulting risk assessment, the internal auditors, they did have special ed as one of the high-risk areas. And so my immediate concern would be if you increase the teacher-student ratio, that might put us in a liability potentially. And so I'd be very cautious before you did anything in terms of reducing workforce in special ed, only because I'd like to be real comfortable that we don't put ourselves in a situation. And if this board is in agreement with creating an internal audit department on Wednesday, one of the first functions I'd like them to do is take a look at special ed as well. If that's what they come back as a risk, because they have to do their own their own assessment. But I do want to caution that we don't want to just arbitrarily say let's reduce force. I just think there's going to be some negative impact with that.
I disagree. Mr. Macias, because I would go back to what we talked about in the beginning, and which is there are standards of work, and if other, and I said this before in the budget, you know, people can't do their job, and we hire somebody to help them do their job because they can't do their job.
This could be a case, but we don't know.
Well, but the point is, if you're trained, like Mr. Salinas said, you're a trained special ed professional, then you should be able to handle the same workload and do however many yards and however many as all of your peers across the district. Judson kids are no different than other kids, and you cannot operate out of fear that somebody's going to sue us, because they're going to sue us anyway, so.
Well, that does bring a good question, and I can appreciate that. Maybe our training isn't up to par. We have to look at everything before we just,
They're supposed to be trained when they get here.
well, then we'll have to take a
sorry,
look at
y'all.
that. I agree, but
I mean this year.
I hear that, but
I've been nice for 10 years this year.
But
I'm
just
gonna speak
just
my mind.
like a second ago with principals having to go through that training, you would think that they would be trained as well on staffing. So when you say they've been trained, they still probably need some professional development. Well, they might maybe be trained at
The board should
special
be
ed.
too, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But we'll re-examine that. My whole point is to be cautious.
the other item we have here is creating an internal audit department. Mr. Macias?
Yes, this is on this agenda? Where did I miss that?
Yes, sir.
I see the salary and compensation. That was my big worry, the attrition rate, trying to tackle that. Yeah, there you go, create an internal audit department. Obviously, we'll have some additional discussion on this. I think at our last board meeting, Dr. Mackey did kind of talk about some of the talking points of our visit to Northeast Independent School District. I want to convey that Dr. Cottardi was extremely supportive of an internal audit department to Dr. Mackey, and illustrated many instances where that department was very helpful and beneficial to helping our district, or his district. If we get the opportunity to do that, it will definitely be a tool in this board and the superintendent's arsenal to address areas in the district that need to be addressed. I can't tell you how many times I wish we could have looked a little deeper in certain areas. We want to give Ms. Howard some additional support in terms of trying to uncover, I should say, issues of attrition and retention. I mean, I know we keep saying those words, I do, but it's because we really do have some issues. We had a 19.2 attrition rate. We have a 17.0 or 17.2 or so attrition rate in some years past. So it's been pretty high. So it's a time that we just draw the line in the sand. I think this internal audit would be a benefit to the district and to our community and help in a lot of different areas. One other aspect that I want to make sure is conveyed, the internal auditor works with the team of 8. That means the superintendent is heavily involved with the internal auditor. But one of the aspects that I'd like this internal auditor to do is what some other districts are already having their internal auditors do. Look at our PTAs and our booster clubs to ensure that they're in compliance. One question or one item I brought to the board after we had an embezzlement of $10,000 from a booster club president was, what are we doing? What are we doing to safeguard those dollars for parents? And there really was not an active process other than principals kind of making sure that they're managing their expenses and revenue. But ideally, that's not a principal's job. An internal audit, in fact, internal auditors at Northeast and at San Antonio ISD do regulate the booster clubs and the PTAs to give some support to the district and ensure that there's not a mismanagement of funds. And according to Dr. Guattardi, that's been a really good tool. SAISD has echoed the same thing. So I'd like at least 50% of the job function for the internal audit to address that issue. That way we can kind of alleviate the principals from being directly involved in that. Their plates are already full, and get some safety for our community. Because the way I look at it is, we're either going to pay for it now or later. And the PR-wise of having to put some positive news out there after there's been some embezzlement is difficult. So let's just kind of stop it in the beginning and have this internal audit department work towards that. So anyway, if you have any questions in addition, or if you have questions of Dr. Mackey, I know he had some input, or he may have some input, I'm sorry, since he attended the same meeting I did.
Yeah, the meeting was a good meeting and very informative about the things you do, but there's no way that we can alleviate principals for us because principals has a certain obligation as being the leader of that campus, and by law, they have to do the budget, make sure someone's at the meet. There's certain standards that they have to do anyway, so we wouldn't want to say that they can't do that because they wouldn't be doing their job if they did.
I feel like we're kind of, I really don't know where we are at this moment. So, Dr. Mackey, based on what Mr. Elizondo read, we're still 800 and some thousand over, right?
No, 1.8 million.
1.8. Dang, I thought you took us below the 1.
But we do have funds coming back that are not going to be spent, that will go back in the fund balance.
That is not how the budget works.
I understand, but some will.
Is my mic on?
No, I just for the record, I did state that there will be possibly some funds that we didn't spend in this year that will go back to our fund balance. We don't know what that is.
That is-
Mr. Elizondo did say we won't know until November.
Mr. Flores, now I need your help here.
Yes.
A budget is made on revenue and expenditures in the current year, not based on how much money we have in the bank. Okay. So, Dr. Mackey, what is your recommendation? Where are we? You've cut everything you can cut, and we've asked for everything we could ask for. I'm not trying to be facetious, but where are we here? Give us some guidance. What are we supposed to be doing between here and a vote on Thursday night or Wednesday?
Wednesday. Well, the only thing I can do, Mr. Adair, is go back and look at the student count, look at other avenues of revenue that we're receiving in the district, and trying to make the best. Right now, I'm making the best guesstimate that I can possibly make on revenue, and with seeing these expenditures numbers, is seeing what's going to happen. If we add in some of the things that y'all have asked for tonight, and seeing how close we can really come by Wednesday and looking at it, at the budget. But right now, we are running a very, very tight budget schedule because the revenue you know, combination of taxes, combination of ADA, that we trying to make the best guess without going over. Because if we go over and do some things that we shouldn't be done, then you know what's happened to 3 districts around here. And the state is really looking this year at districts, because as of July the 1st, one district is being taken over because of this. And I did get a call from TEA last week. And I'm making the best guess I can make, because even though it's the board, my name's on there too. And I've never had this, only had this to happen one time. And we made up one time in 2008, and we really had to cut back during the year, and the departments suffer when you do that.
Ms. Williams?
Well, Arnold was just asking me about something I had asked about before, and it's still hard for me to see the bigger picture, but we're getting approximately what more from state this year? Mr. Elizondo, can you? Oh, it's okay. How much more are we getting from state this year?
A little over $4 million.
A little over 4, and how much more are we getting from federal?
It's 4.5 million, almost 4.5 from the state, and about 4.9 from local taxpayers.
4.9. So it's
Local what?
so it's over 9. Yeah.
Oh, Texas, okay, so that's
So we're
almost
getting
9 million?
no, it's actually a little over 9 million. So we're getting a little over 9 million more this year, and we're 1.8 in the hole. That's just, it's hard, you know, when you're looking at the bigger picture, because we're zooming in and looking at so many smaller pieces, but that's where I'm having a harder time, kind of where June's saying, where are we at? It's harder for me to understand when we're getting over $9 million more this year, and we have a $1.8 million deficit right now.
Expenditures.
Yeah.
Expenditures,
Yeah.
you know.
When you look at the expenditures, the biggest percentage is, there's 185.43% increase in new staff upgrades.
Because if you're getting this much money, evidently you get more kids.
Well, because we're opening Copperfield
Copperfield.
Elementary School,
We open
which is the
STEM
bulk of the money,
programs.
the JSTEM program.
Yeah.
So,
And I could ring my bell and it's them, I told you I didn't have money for that when I started. And it's 2 million.
And I can kind of help a little bit, just to kind of, out of that $9 million, $1.4 million are out of it. We're being issued the past year, going to TRS, but the state's bringing it to us, and we're bringing it to the TRS, so that's the process.
So then why don't we say 9.1 minus this, and we actually only get this? I know that's not, but I mean, at least to get a briefing on that.
And there's an expenditure in here as well, it says, the TRS.
Yes, sir.
And Florida Constitution.
Yes, yes.
Then, like when y'all pointed out that we have some new staff and upgrades, we're spending $3.7 million on that, and the majority of that is to cover,
Right, and that's understandable.
Right, we're spending $4.1 million on salary increases before through,
Right.
in February.
Right. 3%.
Right there, that's the $9 million almost. Then
Yes.
there's a little bit more money coming in here at Parks and Places, another $1 million or so, that there's things that are being spent on all the department budgets and capital budgets. So that's the additional, the big money.
And plus other expenditures that,
But to be fair to the administration, to be fair, the operating cost campuses and departments only increased by 4%, to be fair. I mean, I'm gonna be fair.
yeah.
So, I can't, like Matthew, if you would increase your campus and department budget a lot, I'd be for the but that's not where the majority of the money is. It's in new staff and upgrades. That's where, when you say, where did the money go? 185% increase. And I'm sorry, Copperfield shouldn't be that much.
I think it's like, I don't know, is it like $2 million or so?
Copperfield?
Mm-hmm.
But I thought we were gonna take the teachers that
We
were
did.
in the other schools and
We
we're
did.
just
Some.
moving
$2,381,000,
additional.
conditional for that right there.
Those 13 new teachers?
Because when you end up opening a new school, you have to realize you gotta open up with custodians, you gotta open up with food service, you gotta put the aid, your special ed department. You're talking about all your staff. I mean, but that's what I'm saying, that's salaries.
Right, he was saying the other stuff.
All your salaries, it takes a lot to open up a new school.
Well, we're gonna have those same expenses next year.
That's right. That's right. Anything.
Right.
That's right.
And the other thing we did this next year is that we lowered the teacher to student ratio in second and third grade.
That's right.
And that cost about 20 teachers, which is another $1 million.
We didn't lower it,
Well, we,
what the standard was.
yeah, so we changed that. We made that change, that cost another $1 million.
What, and that would be how much difference?
$1 million. 20
What's that?
teachers. 20 teachers, $1 million,
Oh.
approximately.
Yes.
That's a
Would
good
it
thing.
make a difference, knowing our numbers, if we went to a September budget?
No, it would not make a difference. No, as a matter of fact, what would end up happening is you would take a hit to your fund balance to do that, because you would have 2 months, you would have the July and August time frame of expenditures that you would not have new revenues to offset for.
But even, I know that one time you did those 2 months, just like when we went to July or June.
But see, there you gain, there it works to our favor, because there you gain some fund balance, but this other way you lose it.
And that worked to our favor back in Dr. Z did,
That's correct.
you know. But I'm wondering, as we go forward, you know, the second, third, fourth, fifth year, will we have better numbers to know on our revenue?
The state's gonna meet, remember, they're gonna meet in January, so we don't know what they're gonna do for education. That's another thing, we're gonna have to be very careful next.
You know, I
But that's
remember,
part of our
I remember
problem,
when we
too.
used to,
Have always been
I,
very good.
I remember when we used to be on a September 1st through August 31st school year, and it has challenges as well. Just like we do now, we have challenges at that time as well, trying to estimate things that we're not sure about. Some things we do better now because of this, and some things were better the old way. So it's not really, believe me, if my job was easier and it made it easier for y'all, I would definitely say, let's go to September, because this is ridiculous.
Okay.
Good point. Good point.
President, I
Yes.
want to know, in this, budget that we were looking at tonight, is the internal auditor in this budget?
There are $75,000 that are in this budget for an internal audit, and all we did is we carried forward what was in last year, and the mechanism, or the way it was set up last year, was as a contracted service. So that's exactly the way it still is set up in this year's budget for next year. $75,000 is a contracted service.
So if we need more money, then we would have to do, like we do everything else, and then it's a budget amendment at that time.
You could do it several ways. When you're going to adopt the budget for next school year, at, I guess, Wednesday night, if the board opted to, then you could amend the budget or ask us to change the original, the budget's going to be adopted for that amount. Or you could wait and come back at any meeting that y'all had and make a motion to amend the budget at that time, put it on the agenda and amend the budget at that time for that item. Either way, that's y'all's decision to make.
I'm not the kind of, I don't like to get here that night and then hop that on administration and, just make amendments like a board member did us one year. And it was like, but anyway, I don't do that, so Dr. Mackey, I'd like to see, the figures with, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking for myself and everybody else to chime in what they want. I'm willing to, commit $150,000. I'm not willing to commit $250, but I'm willing to commit $150, which would be the 75 we never got last year, and 75 this year, comes to 150.
Sounds good.
So I'm willing to compromise with that, but I do think we need to take some steps. But, for the record, I'm still not willing to support the direct of $80,000 because I don't have the money to go there. And I'd rather have the internal audit than some of the, maybe, if I was to look at her department and maybe upgrade, the lady that does whatever, explaining to the coordinator
and we can, 75 would not be too, as much. So, yeah, limited at 150 would be fine to me.
My recommendation would be 200,000, and because I do feel that this department needs 2 personnel. If 150 can acquire 2 people, then I'd be comfortable with that. But I think this is starting the department from the ground. I think there has to be 1 person leading the charge and then 1 person supporting. And so we need to look around for that. I'll do some homework tonight to see what I can find and tomorrow. But 200,000 is going to do it right. I honestly don't know what 150 could get you by itself. I think you could probably pay a director 80,000, and there is already compensation salaries out there. I did see one that we could use to kind of gauge, or we can even look at our fellow districts to see what they're paying their directors. If we're paying this person 120,000 or something, that's a lot of money. I wouldn't want to pay that much. It needs to be competitive, and so I think really if we want to do it. We want to do it right. And then the other reason I'm not comfortable with it is because that 75,000 was allocated from last year's budget. We're adding 75. This is going to be a recurring expense. I would ask that the board at least commit to this for 3 years to assess if this is worth continuing and then make an evaluation at that point. But you can't do it for 1 year and then, because I'll tell you what, the same challenges that we had this year with acquiring an HR audit were cumbersome and timely. We never got it done. So can you imagine what that would look like this year if we committed to 1 year and then we didn't get it started until January of 2015? So it has to be a pretty firm commitment. It can't be just, oh, let's just do it because, No, so that's what I'm going to ask you guys to take a look at to do.
So you're looking to take a $1.8 million deficit and raise it to $2 million?
Well, I'm willing to cut positions. There's positions that well, I want to cut down the finance position. The finance position you recommended that's unfilled. The $80,000 risk management position, $155,000 for 2 positions. That really helps already right off the bat. So I'm not trying to say those have to be it, but if you want to push, those are the 2 that come to mind real quick. So we should look at what we can possibly do to get there. I don't want to be in debt. I hate that we're already $1.8 million behind. But we do need to find a way to do things, and we cannot not put in an internal audit department because we're at 1.8. That is something this district needs. The top 3 districts in terms of size already have them. We're the 4th, and if we're going to get to that next level, we need to have our internal audit department.
If we want to get to that next level, look how many agenda items that those board members on those 3 good districts put on their agenda.
I haven't evaluated that. I'm concerned about what's happening at Judson, and I'll continue putting items on the agenda until we get to where we need to go, because we're not there yet. So we have room to grow, and we have things to do. So if you don't agree, I'm sorry.
Okay, let me ask you, any more? I got to bring something up.
Oh, before you go there, I wanted to ask Dr. Mackey, can you, when you were talking to that superintendent, can you find out, I don't expect to start a, internal audit department at the level that they have it. We just, I believe in starting slow. Can you find out from them what a person is going to cost us and where we would be at 150? I think we need to start the department, but I don't have any idea what their salaries run.
The salary, it makes it look like the director was close to 80 when you look at their actual budget right now with 3 staff auditors and a clerical, it's probably
Yeah,
about that, but it's in there 65 to 75,000 as salary for each individual staff there. But in terms of startup, it would be a good idea to ask them startup type stuff and costs for sure.
But we're looking at a district with over 100,000
Oh,
kids.
absolutely. But I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I'm talking
we're
about one.
23,000.
Right. Well,
So that makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. But they have a staff of 3 staff plus a clerical. So I'm not suggesting we need
Right.
all 4. I'm just saying one of those staff is being paid 65 to 75.
Mr. Flores, you didn't say, you addressed Mr. Stevens on other issues, but, can you give me some feedback on the one?
Looking at it, not only are you going to have those costs, but I can tell you,
Mr. Alejandro, is that, correct from Mr. Gordon?
I believe so, and even when Gibson Consulting was here, they said the same thing. You know, they're not going to have the expertise to cover all the areas even that they identified, that they're going to be looking for people who have specialized in those areas, because if we hire an individual and we say we want, for instance, for you to go and check all of our attendance data, it's going to take them time to learn that, and by the time they learn it, they're going to be 4 or 5 months down the road. So they probably will advise bringing somebody in who has that expertise to assist them in at least doing the reporting and bringing them up to speed. It'll be a learning curve for the person that we hire, but it is going to cost money to do that. That's just the nature of that business, because I've been here 25 years, and I can't tell you that I know every aspect. I'll tell you just the opposite. I don't know every little aspect of everything, and I rely on those professionals that are over those areas to help me understand when I ask questions about certain things, and then we just go verify that what they're telling us is correct. So yes, I mean, it's definitely going to require somebody from the outside to come help.
When you go back, and talk to the superintendent you visited, I'd like, to hear what he has to say as far as what is his staff doing? Are they hiring outside consultants, and what kind of budget did he give his internal auditing department?
I gave it to you. You have it right there in the packet.
Yeah, but I didn't see.
The budget is listed for budget and supplies is $50,000 to $75,000.
I gave it to you. It's in that packet,
Well,
Mr. Day.
I would think that's their budget though, so don't they have to work within their budget? Yeah. Well, their total budget is $480,000, and that includes their benefits, salary, and the budget supplies, so this implies that that includes everything.
When I met with Northeast, there was no consultant discussion. I don't know if they have it. I mean, we use consultants. They're not under the same budgets. They're in different budgets too. So, but based on the conversation with Dr. Katardi, there was no mention. But granted, they have a well-oiled machine. They've had an internal audit department for 20 years. So I mean, they kind of understand the significance, and it's been running. So that may minimize the need for those additional factors. If we need to expense more dollars, obviously we'll look at the rationale. We do that now. So. So we just add amendments. That's not a problem if we feel that we're going to get a return on that. I did want to add, too, for the board and for the staff members that are here, when we actually select an internal audit, Mr. Flores, we will, as a board, interview this internal auditor. Because remember, the auditor reports to the board. Superintendent will be a part of those conversations as well. And collectively, as a team of 8, we will select an internal auditor. So those concerns you have, I think, are very well, and they'll be questions that need to be asked when we interview.
Thank you.
Mr. Salinas.
Yes, sir.
I'm sitting here, and I like to listen to this. I have 3 people, yes, 150, 1 person, 200, and 1 person abstain. I'm just listening to this. So I want to know what y'all want to do. I just need to know what y'all want to do.
I think I need to stick with the 150 until I hear something else.
So I'm telling
We
people.
can, we can always look at
Yeah.
adding to. So he's agreeable to 150, and I guess.
Take it from there for 1 year.
I haven't heard anything. I'm waiting. Well, why you got it? Look at Mr. Derrick. Go say the superintendent. Wait a minute, Mr. Derrick. I got that.
I'm instigating tonight.
Look at this again.
He's gonna put it in the budget, whatever he wants, and then we're gonna vote on it, and we're gonna talk it and discuss it on Wednesday. And that's all we're doing, you know?
Okay.
Before we get out, we have a level 3 hearing that came up, but several of us are going to be on vacation. I'm going to be on vacation. I believe Mr. Macia is going to be out. We're talking about July the 10th. We cannot do it. It would be better if we move it to August, because I'm going to be out of town, not the following week because we have a board meeting, but after that I'll be out of town. So maybe Ms. Perez, would you please let legal know that we'll schedule it for the 2nd Thursday in August. Now, let's come back to July, well, Mr. Flores, we wanted to schedule so we can talk, the board can talk about the new conditions for a new superintendent and hiring of a possible research team. What would be a good date in July where we could meet for that?
I won't be back till after the fifth.
Oh, yeah, but this would be, it would probably have to be the week of the 14th through the 18th. No, 14th through the 17th, but 17th we have a board meeting.
Maybe that first Monday.
That first Monday, the 14th? The 14th? Okay. The 14th, I'll put a question mark, Jackie, about the board is going to discuss what we possibly want on the new superintendent and hiring of a what do you call it, a search team? Search team. Okay. Okay. Okay? This meeting is adjourned.